It really hit me. I was thinking about the fact that I'm consciousness in a body, yeah? I'm consciousness. I don't even have a name. I'm consciousness. I've lived many lives and, different expressions, whatever, right? Then it hit me. I thought to myself, okay, so having this compulsion, right, to speak to people and share these kind of like realizations, yeah, it hit me. I'm actually not talking to anybody but myself. Let me explain why. In my timeline, right, in my reality, my micro reality, I am consciousness. So therefore, if I'm doing that, I'm just telling myself that this is an illusion. Do you see the feedback loop? It's like a loop. So I come to the realization that it's a simulation, yeah. But at the same time, I also kind of, how do I explain it? It's an illusion, yes. But at the same time, I'm seeing the kind of like the tells, and I'm recording it and sharing it. But I'm only sharing it with myself because there's no one out there. It's just me. So the question is, do I believe that I'm in an illusion? Yes. 1000%. This is all an illusion. And the more you come to the realization, I said this, I can't remember, I need to actually keep more track of these things, but I think once you come to the realization that you're in illusion, you're dreaming, and you're just in a lucid dream, and this whole game is about belief. So it's like all you believe is what the reality will show you, right? And I've tested it, and it's true, man. It's true. Like, you see all this the stuff with Neville Goddard and all the rest of it. That's all true. But in my opinion, I just don't feel like it goes far enough, because it's actually a story about consciousness and the power of consciousness. There's nobody else here. There's no one else in your timeline, bro. It's just you. That's why your timeline on your phone is unique to you. Like, everyone is in their own zone. You understand? Surrounded by projections. And when you raise your vibration or you change your frequency, in terms of like, you leave the ego mind alone, right? You leave it, and you operate from your higher self, right? Consciousness. You see that people and places and things will drop off because they're no longer in alignment with you, because all the other experiences are projections, but those projections are only found at specific frequencies. So it's like, as you change frequency, things around you change. It's pretty, yeah. It's simple, but it's also complex at the same time, but interesting nonetheless. So yeah, this is a follow-on to my I can't remember the title of the video. Essentially, I'm talking to myself. That's the title. So I know it sounds kooky, right? I explained it using timelines, but I'm going to explain it this time not using timelines. I'm going to use just a practical kind of like world example, and also draw inspiration from a very good movie that kind of like depicts this whole idea, called Nines by it's got Deadpool, what's his name, Ryan Reynolds in it. So if you think about it, right, or Ready Player One, that movie, something similar to this. So imagine Ready Player One, right? He's playing a VR. He's got a VR set with a suit. you know, it's the best all singing or dancing version, right? And in this game he creates worlds, right? So we're mixing the kind of like two concepts. So he creates worlds, he creates different kind of like realities, and he lives in them, right? And then he's been living in these realities, like he's been creating, you know, these stories and obstacles and and all these sorts of things, and he's just experiencing life, and he thinks that's all there is, right? And through this part is where it gets tricky. Through either breadcrumbs that he's left himself, right, or breadcrumbs that are left in the game as standard, right? Because this place is a place, yeah. It's not. This is just an the whole world is an expression of consciousness. It's a game also, yeah. So whether the breadcrumbs are left by consciousness itself or it's left by the reality itself, it makes no difference. It's the same thing. Or another conscious being, other conscious beings, because here we can play with the idea of, you know, consciousness being whole, but we all live in our own micro universes, but they kind of like intersect at certain points, right? So maybe because if you think about a spiritual awakening, right, it's like a stirring within your soul, yeah. And only those that have gone through it will know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've not been through it, you won't get it. It's within your soul. There's nothing you could do about it. There's literally nothing your mind or your body could do about it, because it's going as it's you choosing to go a specific direction, but it's coming from your higher self, right? So whether these breadcrumbs are yours or you meet another conscious being along the journey that kind of goes, hey, you need to do this or recognize this or pay attention to that or whatever it is, right? And then you, the character that's wearing the VR headset in the haptic suit, kind of now comes to the realization that, oh shit, this is a game. All of it is a game, right? So now it's like you then have this, I'm just explaining my perspective, right? So you have this compulsion of sharing this new found knowledge with everybody, but at the same time you recognize that everybody is actually not even here. It sounds crazy, guys, but it's true. You know, because how do I know that you exist? I can't ever know. How do I know that this world is real? Like, or this world is the baseline reality? I can't ever know. And this is not just me just talking. This is actually facts. Whether you look at it from a scientific standpoint, whether you look at it from a common sense standpoint, whether you look at it from a dimensional standpoint, this reality is not the baseline reality. You can't vouch for it. You can't verify that. So with those concepts in mind, right? If I'm putting graffiti on the walls like, hey, fuck the system, right? Or, you know, putting a YouTube video out to explain in detail what this construct is, because everybody is you pushed out. Don't forget that everybody is just a reflection of consciousness in a way, and because you are consciousness, the way they interact with you is based on how the vibration you're on, you know, your state of awareness and all the rest of it, because you create realities, right? You create worlds, you create this, it's your power. So in essence, you're literally speaking to yourself. I'm speaking to myself, and me speaking to myself, yes, there's a feedback loop, and there's a feedback loop, right? And at the same time, even though this feedback loop exists, in the physical 3D manifestation, it shows itself, it reveals itself in many ways, right? But that is only to show that the message is being understood more by myself. Do you get it? It doesn't mean that, oh, you know, I've reached X amount of people and because that's all ego stuff. Who cares? Who cares? I didn't do this stuff for, I don't put this stuff out for fame. I don't put this stuff out for any of that. Do you understand? It's almost like the thoughts come, or the realizations come, and they're so like, it's like my brain literally gets flooded with it, and I have to pour it somewhere. And that's why sometimes my videos are never structured. They're just freestyles from, you can hear the background. I'm, you know, usually eating or drinking or driving or whatever, cycling. It's just, yeah, it just comes in, and that's how it is, right? So in many ways, I'm just having a conversation with my own self to kind of bring to my own conscious awareness that, hey, listen, I recognize that I'm in a game, so let's work together to have the best life experience possible. Yeah, because I'm aware that's a game. I don't believe the stories anymore. You know, yes, I still believe some stories, but I'm working through ridding myself of the stories, because the stories are so many. Oh my god, like there are so many stories that you believe. Like literally there are my favorite word, quadrillions. I think I got that from Daylight. There are quadrillion stories that we latch onto. You know, oh this, oh that, you know. So we're just talking to ourselves. You know, it's the same. Like most like people that spread any information and stuff like that, they're sharing. They're sharing it with themselves, really. You know, it's almost like their consciousness is sharing it with the suit version, and the suit version is sharing it back to consciousness, and then there's this loop. Yeah, that's how I see it anyway. But the thing is, ego will lie to you and tell you that, oh, but you know, you're a person, and dude, you've lived loads of lives, man. I've done the regressions, man. I've seen some of my previous lives. I've been alive longer than I've been alive since the very beginning. And so have you. Like, nobody was just born in this time and you started life now. Bro, you've been alive the whole time. Like, think about it logically, right? If you were alive as sperm, then you were alive when you were in your dad, right? And if your dad was also a sperm, which included sperm within it on some microscopic level, right? Then he was also alive the whole time. Then his dad's dad was, we could go back and back and back and back and back and back and back. I know people would say, oh well, but the sperm is not fully developed and it hasn't really got, you know, sexual gametes, and it hasn't really got like a sperm in it. Guys, at this point in this game, you know, we're Jedis, so we need to really think beyond. Yeah. So if you think of an acorn, right? Within an acorn lays a mighty oak. Yeah. An oak tree lives within an acorn. Yeah. All the information is within that thing. Does it show you that it's got like it's a tiny acorn, but yeah, there's an oak tree in there, and then that oak tree's also got oaks in it, or it's gonna produce oaks, not oaks, acorns that will produce more oaks, and right? It's the whole and the it's the whole and the individual. The whole that's how this place works. Do you understand? You've been alive the whole time. The whole time you've been alive, bro. You've been alive the whole time. The same way the oak tree, even though you can't see it, you could just see the acorn. The oak tree is alive within the acorn. Just because your small mind, your human mind, which is small in scope, can't understand that, well, you know, we've not seen it, so, but it exists. It's in there. Given the right conditions, it's an entire tree, and the same applies to the sperm. Given the right conditions, it's a human. Do you get it? This stuff is deep, man. this stuff is deep. I mean, there are loads of stuff that, yeah, man, this stuff is deep.